Welcome back to Bender Knows Best. It has been a long time. Today, this will be one of the 4 episodes we do this year. We should have done, technically, we should be done with 14 games of the season, and we're stuck at about, 10 or 12 right now, thanks to COVID. And speaking of COVID, I have a special guest with me today that doesn't normally appear on this, but thank you on Valentine's Day weekend for doing this podcast. Karen, welcome back.
Ironic. Valentine's Day weekend spent with my spouse, lovingly participating in my favorite hobby in this entire household.
Hey, I said thank you, okay, lady? Okay, don't press your luck, okay? You're losing thank yous, okay?
Hey, that wasn't your worst intro, though.
No, that actually shockingly wasn't. But what has been a little interesting and shockingly so far is the Caps, I would say, health. We've had a couple losses to COVID, a lot to injury.
Wait, no, before we dive into that, we're going to talk about this podcast and some things that I learned as a guest on your podcast. 1, you get the crappy mic. Watch this, guys. 2, you get to watch a lot of behind-the-scenes effort, but your sarcasm is not welcome. So those are fun things. Sorry, guys, to those of you that have previously put up with this.
Okay, well, speaking of sarcasm, 1, don't eat the microphone. You're a little too close. You're pitchy. Don't like it, okay? Back up. I'll remove you. Get in the next one. I want a new one. Oh, wait, I'm bored. I don't have a new one. All right. Well, that's the mic stand you get. Sorry.
It's okay.
But
this
also,
finger is getting more of a workout than I have today, so it's fine.
Thank goodness it's not the middle finger. How many F-bombs did I have to drop when setting this up?
I stopped counting.
Yeah. Also,
I can tell you how many times you told me to be quiet, though. That was 7.
That was 7?
7. 7 times I was told to stop talking.
7 times. Well, I mean...
And we're going to talk for an hour, so that's fun.
Those of you that have been married, you'll know how hard it is to get your spouses to stop talking when you want them to.
I mean...
You ever been at a party with her and I together? It never stops me. I never shut up. And always go home in trouble. But speaking of trouble, the Caps have been in a little bit of trouble this season. We said earlier with injuries and COVID, learning a new system. I would say is the super freak fan of this household, and you as the innocent bystanders watching. How have you thought that they have done so far?
The Capitals or the NHL?
Well, we'll start with us, and then if you want to branch that out, we can do that too.
Well, were we a month in before we broke the rules?
Yes, I guess technically we are the only ones that have been suspended and slapped with a fine, I think, so far.
So I wouldn't say that's excelling.
You wouldn't say that's excelling?
No, our star player was out for how many games?
4.
4.
And he had the antibodies.
Right, but there were rules set in place for this season because there wasn't a bubble, and we broke them.
Yes. We did, and apparently I
don't agree with the rules, for the record. I think they're strange and silly, but good gracious, you're picky.
No, but you turn to talk like this, and I lose you.
Oh,
so by having you turn the other way.
No, but I think there's very little difference in being together in practice and then being together, out of practice if you're only staying with your teammates, but. There were rules set in place, and they were agreed upon, and they broke them. So if you ask me how I think we're doing, I don't think that being an example out of all of the teams is doing exceptionally well. True. I'm proud of us for playing well, despite being out that many players for the duration of protocols, which is, really feels like a suspension.
Well, I was going to say this, though. I mean, we had 2 people with COVID, 2 players, which was Samsonov and Kuznetsov, okay? And then we had 2 who were out, they had the antibodies already, and we had 1 player go on it, but I don't think, Vrana, didn't have it. Now, we are not the New Jersey Devils who have 19 people in COVID protocol.
Okay, but I don't keep track of the New Jersey Devils.
True. I'm just saying.
I can barely keep track of the new players we have on our team. I do remember the player whose mom posted the really sweet story on Instagram with the picture of him dressed up in the Caps costume for his first game.
You're talking about Conor Mcmichael?
I think so.
Yes. I would say, side note, have you found a new little baby Caps player to pull for yet?
No.
Okay. Because, Nick, you've been riding that Nicholas Backstrom train since he got drafted.
Yeah, it's a fun train to be on, except for when his face got split open.
I mean, it was just like here and here, or here and here. Yeah.
I mean, it was sad, and it was purple and weird colors.
Well, it hasn't stopped him. He's still leading the team in points. He's still got 6 goals and 11 assists. It hasn't missed a game yet, shockingly, even though he left that one game with I think pretty sure it was migraines.
Well, that's what scared me, is anytime anything happens to his head or his face, because he does have migraines and a history of head injuries, I get really nervous. And I'm also biased because he's one of my favorites.
True. Since we're still on this COVID, we're on the COVID part of this podcast, I would say so far. Do you think that they should have done a bubble? I mean, do you think the league should have tried to go to bubble again? And when I ask you, I'm just asking you specifically because
From a mom-wife standpoint or from a player safety standpoint?
Sure, Dan, you can do both sides if you want.
From a wife of a hockey player who has kids at home, I think this is the best they could accomplish. Mm-hmm. From a health of the players and, avoiding games being delayed and what we're looking at right now because of illness and possible, oh no, I forgot the word, possible exposures. I think the bubble would have been a better option to have a season, but I can understand why they didn't.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because the players have kind of been adamantly against it, just because I think how long they had to be away from their families, the end of last season.
I mean, hockey, like any of the sports and like most work situations and schooling situations and basically every life choice we're making and have been making for a while, there isn't a perfect answer, but I think we're going to continue to see games get postponed, and we may end up at the end of the season kind of mirroring baseball and end up with lost games because I don't see this improving.
Yeah, football is the NFL, and I would say football. NFL is the only league so far that didn't miss any games technically.
But how many players did some of the teams have to play down?
Yeah, true. I just was saying that they had to move games around, but it was weird, very weird where they'd have some people didn't have had no quarterbacks, but they didn't postpone. You know what I mean?
Right. That's what I'm saying.
But then so no, it's going to be a very, very interesting season. Who, as a beer league player, haven't touched the ice in a little over a year almost a year.
Oh, yeah, I know, because I despise cold weather and everything it brings, and you are willing the thermometer to have it be cold long enough for you to skate on ice outdoors. So I mean, if it's going to be this cold, sure, I hope you get to skate, but I'd prefer it not be cold.
Well, yeah, you're from Southern Virginia.
It gets cold there too, dude.
Not like up here cold, and not like Midwest cold, like Wisconsin cold.
You're not from Wisconsin either. You're from here.
You wouldn't know by my skin complexion.
Well, that might be true.
I fit right in up there with them cheese heads and this pasty white skin. All right, so do you think they'll end up doing a bubble when it comes to playoff time? If they have, do you think they'll do it again?
I don't know.
You don't know?
I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think they know.
Yeah, I think it's an ongoing. Well, they've changed things so far. So
they got away with the boards behind the
benches and penalty box now.
And there was that really interesting thing about seating arrangements that
in the locker room.
In the locker room, and then during team travel.
Yeah, that's going to be interesting. I don't know how they're going to make that work.
I think it's an interesting theory, though, that you put people with antibodies in between people that have not yet had COVID to act as kind of a buffer. I don't think there's any scientific data behind that, but it'll be an interesting experiment.
Yeah. Oh crap! I was going to say, well, they did the penalty box now. I think rapid testing every day is now a mandatory thing, and I think they all have to wear. I think they're supposed to wear the KN95 masks now, as well.
Except that during post-game interviews, they don't have on masks.
I think that like just went in possibly like as of effect like yesterday, and because we don't watch, the other teams in the league's post-game interviews, we haven't seen them.
Oh, thank goodness.
Yeah.
There are enough post-game interviews just watching ours.
Listen, some of them are funny, okay?
Some of them are funny. And that actually leads into one of my other observations. I got kind of a crash course in hockey information. I was subjected to more than just usual osmosis. I actually proactively listened to some things. And I actually feel for the players and the coaches because, not naming any names, but some of our reporters hurt me. Like, they are lacking in intelligent question abilities. Like, the coaches are required to give thorough answers to questions that barely make sense.
I mean, it's kind of part of the game, hon. Unfortunately, you get some of those questions. You get the same question. Also, sometimes we're watching the same interview where they're going to ask everybody the same, not the same interview, but like reporters are going to ask the same question to every player to see.
We watched the same interview for 2 weeks.
Not the same interview. You know what I meant, all right? Listen here, English major. Nobody wants your nonsense now, okay?
I mean, I can make it through a question without 6 ums and repeating the same words 5 times.
Congratulations.
I'm just
like a cookie?
No, but I'd like for some of our interviewers to try it.
Oh, lordy, lordy, lordy.
I did feel bad for one of the Caps players who kind of, I think, accidentally through, COVID and whatnot, ended up here over the summer. And his English improved tremendously, which is, great. And I'm sure as far as team, communication goes, that was helpful. But, we didn't have much time to practice. We didn't have, really a preseason.
No, there's no preseason.
And, he got asked 7 times in a row about how his English improved. I was like, can we move on to something, skill related?
Yeah.
Or even
I think
related?
What you're talking is they asked everybody about Samsonov's English. Even asked Vanacek, who is from the Czech Republic. He's good at English. He's gotten much better too. But they asked everybody about his English, and I think Vanacek was like, "Yes, we talk sometimes." Like, what do you want from me?
Well, that's like when they were interviewing the player that had COVID, and they were like, "Were you scared? Was there a point when you were afraid, for your well-being or your life?" And he's just like, I'm Russian, so no."
Kuznetsov is what you mean.
Okay, look, it's good enough that I know their names.
I'm just giving background the names to the players you're
very helpful. I greatly appreciate it.
I know you do.
And you.
Okay, so let's move on to the season so far outside of COVID. Obviously, these games are going to be a lot of them back and forth, especially now that we've missed 4 games that we might have to make up. You who would know more about about COVID than I do. Do you think this could also be lending more to catching COVID with the amount of less amount of rest that everybody's getting?
I mean, your overall health, definitely has an impact on your immunity. Stress, fatigue, underlying illness. And I wonder if even these injuries that the players are having to play through will have an impact too. And on top of that, there was actually a Washington Post article.
Article. What are those?
You know what? That's what I get for being mean. There was an article in December. They found out in youth hockey that the rinks, with their dehumidified conditions and whatnot, actually proved to be a perfect breeding ground for COVID. And so they've got a lot of things working against them, especially when they have these back-to-back games. They're great for, it's almost like the playoff. They can pick up on the other team, they can adapt and those things. But I think as far as their physical well-being, it's going to be tough.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. And especially with the Caps, I'm shocked we haven't had probably more cases, I mean, granted, I don't know what people are doing. Obviously, we don't know what those people are doing in their home lives. But like when you have Backy getting hit in the head, Chara took a puck to the face. Schultz broke, I think, pretty sure he had 2 fractures in his jaw, lost some teeth when he got hit in the face the other day.
Yeah, is that like a record for like facial injuries in a month?
Yeah, probably. But I mean, like Chara, luckily, who's had a broken jaw, his was like you could see he had a small shiner right here, like on the right, the right side of his face, which is really weird for a puck to get up that high on a guy that's a giant.
Yeah, I'm concerned at the fact that the puck got there.
I think it went off his stick, actually, is why it ramped up so high.
His own stick?
Yeah. Well, I mean, he's a defenseman. He probably had it pointed straight out straight up. I mean...
That's unfortunate.
Yeah, I mean, I've taken pucks to the face. So.
I would like to hope that Chara is a little more skilled than you are.
His left wrist is more skilled than my entire body. Like, I'm not
You said it, not me.
Well, yeah. You're lucky I'm not wearing my I'm the okayest at hockey hoodie right now.
Oh, speaking of being okay at hockey,
yes.
So we had the opportunity to the Capitals. There's a outdoor rink near our house, and after they won the Stanley Cup, they refinished that rink, and it is a fantastic place to take your child and play hockey.
You're mean.
And it would have been a perfect day, like one of those days that you like put in a memory book as a perfect day, except that
I mean, it went in the memory book, definitely. It definitely, yeah, it happens. You know, when you haven't had a stick in your hand in a while, and you hit a little slap pass, and it gets away from you, and you drill your 3-year-old son in the ankle. You want to see a woman stare daggers into you? There you go.
Well, on the plus side, our son is definitely more aware of puck location now.
And who's got it?
Yeah.
Keep your head on a swivel, kid.
Learned that lesson effectively. But I am impressed because he recovered from that and still wanted to play and was still willing to be in goal while you shot pucks.
Whoa. You say shot. You should really specify that.
He used the word shot. I am aware that you were very gentle and maybe a little afraid for your life at that point. But it was still a good day, and
he limped around.
I mostly forgive you.
He limped around. He's fine. Shake it off. It'll help him.
He still wants to learn to play hockey. So
I mean, when he breaks as many bones as I have, then he can come talk to me. He'll be fine.
I'd prefer you not break them for him. Just saying.
So, do you enjoy, as a watcher, somebody that is watching as a casual fan? I don't mind the back-to-backs. The back-to-back are little mini series. They're called almost like baseball. I don't think you're doing really 3 because that's like a baseball. They do 3 to 4 games in a row, and the NHL is really kind of more doing 2 with a 1 off in the middle. Do you enjoy it? Because I think we both watched some of those interviews with Laviolette, and he said he doesn't mind them because it gives him more of a chance to scheme them. Like, What do you think about it?
I like it better now that the schedule and Backstrom's on our fridge.
Oh my God.
Hey, thank you, Washington Capitals, for giving me a calendar with his face on it. I don't. Well, this is gonna get me in trouble.
I mean, you
I
cannot
don't
care.
pay attention closely enough
Mm-hmm.
that whether we play the same team back to back, matters to me or not. I think the modified schedule has its pros and cons.
Mm-hmm.
I think that, being able to adapt, is a positive. But when you're doing that, the other team probably is too. And if you look at us, points wise, our season looks better than if you look at us win wise. So I think we still have work to do, but I definitely think that we're holding our own in this, modified environment.
True. Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think we are. We're like 3rd in our division. I can't off the top of my head tell you. But I mean, we blew 3 games in a row, blew a lead, which is obviously, like to the Bruins, 3 games in a row, we blew a 3-goal lead, which usually we don't do. Historically, last year we were really good at once we got a lead, locking down and really playing like defensively, which is the one thing that Reardon was good at. Was like if he got it, the lead, usually we didn't lose it, but it was always the struggle to get us going. And this year we don't have that problem. We're putting up, I think we have like second most goals in the league essentially, but also we give up a lot of goals. So, and you think with Chara and some of these additional defensemen we got, that would be ramping up. But I mean, obviously
if you put into that equation the fact that we are playing basically these little mini series, if you have a player like Wilson out for 2 games, and we're playing a team that we really need Wilson's, strength and, style for, that's going to have an impact.
No, you're not wrong. Yeah, especially when for 2 of those games you didn't have Ovi. You didn't have Kuzi because he was on COVID, and at one point you didn't have Verana for one of them. And your fourth line was literally your second line, I think, is essentially. And Eller was out because he had I'm assuming concussion. Could have been. It says upper body, but
isn't he the one that answered that question kind of oddly in a post-game interview?
Yes, his last statement.
That makes me think it's not a concussion.
You don't think it's a concussion at all? You think could be shoulder?
Well, what are concussion protocols? When can you come back from a concussion?
There's 3 different parts of it. One of them, like they do a test.
I never know where to look. Do I look at the camera? Do I look at who's talking? I'm bad at this.
I mean, you don't have to look at me. Technically, I mean, look.
I wasn't asking; it was a statement.
Okay, well, when you ask rhetorical questions sometimes, but you make
protocol
them sound.
Is
I can't remember off the top of my head, but there's 3 stages of it. One of them is like no headaches, something, and then they do like an active test, and do you get symptoms after being like on a bike or something? And
right. So you basically have to be symptom free.
Yeah, but
to get released. And so the way he answered that question was,
I hope to be better soon.
That makes me think it wasn't a concussion.
True, and I just from watching.
Or wasn't just a concussion.
Yeah, from watching him play, it didn't look. The other day, he didn't look like anything was really hampering him necessarily. Like it didn't look like he was slow. So obviously, he wasn't lower, but it didn't look like he was taking face-offs. He was bumping people. So I mean, his injuries are way worse than probably any injury I've ever had, and
dude, you can sleep wrong and you'll complain for 3 days.
Yeah, I'm 35 plus now, hon. You look at me wrong and I hurt.
What's the WD-40 for humans?
But, we have all those injuries. Conor Sherry. Oh, here's an interesting story. Didn't know if you know this. Did you hear about this, though? Conor Sherry got hurt, technically. Didn't go out on the road trip, but got to be home for the birth of his daughter, first child. Was born on a Saturday. Played the 12 o'clock game on Sunday.
And this is why I could never be an actual hockey wife.
I think he has family home, so he was like, it would have been.
I mean, that's convenient.
It would have been great if
he got hurt, but
yeah, it would have been great if it had been like a 7 o'clock game, and I could have got like a morning skate in instead of take the wife home, barely sleep, and then jump right into the game at noon.
Yeah. Well, that's like the player when we did the modified season. I hesitate to say last year because I feel like we've been in the twilight zone forever. Mm-hmm. The player that didn't go to the hospital with his wife,
Eller,
so that he could take a shorter leave of absence.
Yeah, I think he went to. It was Eller. Eller left the bubble and took a private jet home, but because he didn't go to the hospital, he was able to come straight back. Yeah.
And take it shorter.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You didn't have to do the 14-day quarantine again.
Yeah. Well, private jets, I guess, help with that.
I mean, when you have money to burn, you can do that kind of thing. Even though he luckily didn't miss a game, are you shocked Nicholas Backstrom has he's leading the team in points? I don't think he's done that ever since he's joined the team. I mean, how
many games was Ovi out?
4, and Ovi's 5 points behind him now.
Am I shocked that Backstrom stepped up when he needed to? No. Are you? Be careful how you answer that question. I can reach you.
No, I'm never shocked. I think I, like most people that watch the Capitals, wish he would shoot more. We all know he can shoot. He's had hat tricks in the playoffs. He's had I think he's tied or has the most overtime game winners or game winning goals for the Capitals, I think, in the playoffs. He's great in the clutch. He just doesn't shoot very often, and it's mind boggling how a guy can be that great, and and unfortunately Kuzi's somewhat like him, and I know we drafted Kuzi to be the scorer of the centers, but Kuzi finds more joy in setting up people than he does scoring his own goals.
I feel like that was a complaint when you and your brother played together, is that you sometimes missed scoring opportunities because you would rather pass to someone than actually shoot the puck. So are you really pointing that out in someone else's hockey style?
Yeah, because he gets paid millions of dollars, and me playing pickup doesn't really matter.
Well, I feel like we pay millions of dollars for you to play pickup when it's
technically, we don't pay for it because I haven't played in a year. So technically, we don't pay anymore.
We will.
And now I'm even more annoying because I was reffing before I'd leave. before this COVID situation hit.
But I hope that teaches you, because while you were never a jerk to the refs, you were definitely a pest, I would say.
I don't know what you mean was. I was not.
Were, will be again.
I don't know what you're talking about.
But now that you've been on the receiving end of that.
It's good and bad, though, because then I know where the line is, and I know where it isn't sometimes.
Well, I feel like the line is one of the things that you get called on most often, so maybe that's helped you.
True.
We'll see.
True. But reverting back to people that are way more important than me.
But I know you better.
Yeah, I'm surprised you don't know the inside of Backstrom's house, how much you...
I mean, that's illegal.
So? That would stop you?
Illegal.
So, outside of Backstrom, out of the new people that have been here, who has impressed you the most, would you say? Or have you not paid, unfortunately, enough attention outside of the injuries?
I like the way Chara has almost immediately become part of the team. Mm-hmm. Like, as much as he was someone we loved to hate prior to joining us, and I think it's funny that our goalie, oh no, you're going to have to fill in another name, was like, we are not going to be doing...
Oh, no, he doesn't. He technically, yes, he's still... I'm talking about Lundqvist. He's technically still on the team, but he had heart surgery, he hasn't played.
Oh, yeah. I forgot about that.
Yeah. He's doing better. 3 weeks or a month or so post-surgery. He was walking around New York, sent a video.
Hey, that's promising.
Yep.
But yeah, I thought that statement was pretty funny.
Well, and I only say it because technically it was because he said about Ovi. Char wasn't on the team yet.
Oh, I'm mixing up things. What did they say they weren't going to do with Chara?
I don't know what they said they weren't going to do with Chara.
Was it Oshie? Oshie was the one that
Oshie said he wasn't going in the corners with him anymore, I think. He said, I'm not going in the corners with Chara, because he sent that picture up, or he said, be happy not to do this again, and it was like Oshie sideways into the boards.
Sorry, I combined the two. It was the one-timers that Ovi would hit, and then the...
Oshie getting clobbered in the corner?
Yeah. It's nice that he clobbers for us instead of clobbering us now.
True, yeah, I mean...
But like the full bench bear hug was I liked that.
Oh yeah, it was hilarious.
Not really COVID safe, but
I mean that's the whole argument. Going back to the COVID thing real quick. That's the whole thing.
Yes, you can hug them on the bench. You can't hang out in the hotel room. It doesn't make sense. Ovi's wife had a point.
Well, they even were like, please don't fist bump each other on the ice. It was like, what? Don't fist bump each other. No post goal hugs. But yet you're gonna let two guys punch each other in the face in the ice if it comes to it.
I mean, I don't feel like any of it is a perfect, safe environment, which we've proved because we had how many games canceled, postponed?
4
already.
4.
And we're in February.
But I found out,
and we just started in January.
Excuse me. There was a big outcry. I know we keep going back. COVID's going to be, I think, the theme of this episode, really, because
you're stuck with me and not somebody you'd rather talk to.
No, I was just going to say just because it's been a huge part of these first 10 games, really, or
you mean
first 12
the last
games.
11 months?
But it has affected these 12 games we've played so far. So technically, yeah, if we 4 more games, yeah, because it would be 16, and that would be one quarter of the way through. But I was saying that the reason why J.J. Reagan did a article the other day because everybody was complaining that we had 4 people in protocol and we had to play our games, and there were teams that had 3 people that tested positive for COVID and they didn't, and they didn't have to postpone them. They postponed their games and we didn't have to postpone ours. And the thing was, they found out that Samsonov was the one that was tested positive, and through contact tracing found out that those 3 other players were in his room. Well, the problem with the Buffalo in New Jersey is that one person popped hot. They played the game anyway, the second game after the person popped hot, and then both teams had the outbreak. And so that's why they're saying that those games are getting canceled, ours didn't, because they found out where the source was, isolated it, and through testing, everybody else was clean. And that's why.
I also think there's that minor detail of we were made an example.
True. You know, hopefully, I think we've learned from that, though.
Hopefully.
Do you think Nicky can keep this up? Speaking of this theme of his points so far, obviously he's clearly over a point per game player at this point in time. He's usually on a normal season, I would say close to a 70 assist guy, and maybe a 12 to 15 goal scorer.
But, I mean, in the last game we played, I think. Okay, so when Nicholas Backstrom scores in this household, even if I'm not paying attention, I am expected to yell from whichever room I am in the house, "Yeah, he did."
You started that a long time ago.
Actually, Lynn started that.
Whatever. Swedes, there's no bad Swedes.
No, there aren't. But I wasn't yelling because it was a Backstrom-Ovi combo, and so I was convinced that Ovi's the one that had scored, and it was actually Backstrom. But I think that we're going to see, as Ovi ramps back up, we're going to see the Ovi scoring the more points and Backstrom getting more assists. If that doesn't change and they change it up, I think it'll make us harder to play against. But I have a feeling that we're going to slip back into that routine.
Yeah, especially we'll see with Kuzi coming back, and if his legs get going, and I don't know how Laviolette's going to run it, but obviously, like at one point, like Reardon and even Trotz had split Ovi and Nicky up because Nicky was just like, I'm just going to send it over to him. I mean, he's going to score. You know what I mean? They've been doing it for 10 plus years, and then Kuzi kind of gave him a little bit of different dynamic because then Oshie becomes the scorer on the second line. So.
I hope this break will be good for us because we've got our players back from protocols. We've got a couple players back from injuries. And so I hope that we'll be able to come out of the gate and not end up in, situations where we end up losing at the end of the game or in overtime. The one game where we just let in too many goals was unfortunate because we scored quite a few goals in that game.
I think you're talking about the Philly game where Ovi had 2 goals, and then we had 4.
But we had 7 goals against.
One of them was an empty net, but yes.
Oh, still, you can't win games like that.
Yeah, you sound like Tom Wilson. Tom Wilson was like, yeah, putting up 4 usually gets you a win. 7 will not get you a win.
I don't even think I saw that interview, but yeah, I agree with him.
Oh. But speaking of Nicky, before we move on from, I would say, one of the best centermen of all time, last 5 games have been 3 points, 1 point, 3 points, 2 points, 0 points. So the man is consistently putting up points, especially when you're playing almost 21 minutes a night. So
I wasn't disputing that. I was agreeing with you. I will always agree with you that he is fantastic.
Well,
he could have 0 points, and I'd be like, he's still fantastic.
Well, the nice surprise so far, at least of the defense, has been Justin Schultz. A lot of people, when he was in Edmonton, and he kind of had washed out of Edmonton before he got to Pittsburgh and won his 2 cups. And we didn't have a lot of scoring outside of John Carlson last year. Orlov was kind of, Nick Jensen, I don't think has scored a goal in 2 years, unfortunately. And he was supposed to, we signed him right after trading for him. So clearly they were like, he could be the next Matt Niskanen. Even Matt Niskanen pots a goal before he retired, would put a goal in every now and then.
I don't know this person's name, so that says something.
Who, Nick Jensen?
Yep.
This guy?
Nope. Got nothing. Sorry, Nick Jensen.
Oh, Lord. Well, I guess that would make sense since he's only in 287 games, he's only had 6 goals and 58 total points. But
You realize that goals and points things doesn't mean as much to me as it does to you, right?
Yeah, duh. I'm a stat guy.
Yeah. Well, I grew up in a stat house, but I just won an argument this week post Super Bowl by using, it wasn't really stats, it was award recipients, because some people think that being a GOAT is more important than, some other things, but
You don't like Tom Brody?
no,
It's a joke.
not even a little.
It was a joke, hon.
I don't.
I could care less about Tom. How many Super Bowls he wins.
But anyway, so fun fact about me, I grew up in a household where ESPN was better than cartoons, and I married into a household where ESPN or Caps whatever or NHL Network or basically any sports season there is better than, dinner or anything else basically. It just showed up on my timeline the other day. You have my undivided attention now that football season is over, except I think I have, a 6-week window between the end of hockey season and the beginning of football season?
Usually ends in June. Football starts, normal preseason starts in August.
Okay, so maybe an 8-week window.
Yeah. That's plenty of time for you, isn't it?
It's great. It's my favorite. 8 weeks out of a calendar year that I don't have to plan family dinners around a sports schedule. It's fabulous.
Only one you have to plan around is the home run derby. It's the only thing I care about in baseball.
That is not true.
What?
If I were like, we were going to sit in the dining room and have a family dinner with no TV and no phone while the Caps are playing in the playoffs, I think I would get divorce papers handed to me.
I'm talking about when there's no hockey on and there's no football. In the middle of summer, I don't give two shits about
That's
baseball.
that 8 weeks that I get.
Hey, remember when one of us wasn't going to be loud?
Oh, yeah, that's me. But anyway, so I'm used to this whole sports thing, but Henry's Granny K, love her. She has taken the steering wheel on the Tom Brady train. Like he
doesn't even know who Tom is.
She does, and she knows.
He doesn't know who Tom is, not she. Our son. I thought you were talking
well, I have it on video that he was cheering for the red team during the Super Bowl.
Go team!
But his favorite color is red, so he might have been biased. But she wanted me to sign this Tom Brady apology form. And I basically sent her back all of the Walter Payton Man of the Year award recipients. Because I don't really care how good he is. I refuse to like him. But
all right, well, let's get back to
hockey. You've probably got about 5 more minutes of my attention.
That's fine. Because we're gonna go to Laviolette. All right.
I like Laviolette.
There we go. Now you're back in for a minute.
5 minutes.
I said a minute. Okay, calm your lady. All right. So
the only thing that makes me sad about Laviolette
is that thinning hair of his.
Is that his hair is in a more unfortunate situation than yours.
Hey. Listen, I can't change this lovely gap of hair in here, okay?
Or the fact that we could never take those, like, walking away family photos.
Oh, no, the back of my head would blind the camera. I can't help that. That's why, there's no overhead shot.
Hey, I was a nice wife. This fall, I deleted the one of you and Henry walking through the pumpkin patch because...
My head looked like a back of a pumpkin?
It did, actually.
That doesn't surprise me.
Hey,
back of my head looks like a pumpkin. Stomach looks like a swallowed watermelon. It's great.
Hey, we're not going to talk about stomachs.
Okay, but back to Laviolette. You like his coaching style, I would say, so far. You definitely like how he talks to the media, at least, and how he is. Did you see that interview where J.J. Regan's, I thought it was his daughter. Apparently his wife, I guess, was singing to his daughters because they were doing like music time, I guess, for school. And that's when Laviolette was like, does anybody hear that wonderful singing in the background? And I can only imagine J.J. Regan's face is just like, oh, just kill me now.
Well, that's the thing is a lot of us have had to adapt, and we've got, school and kids and just a circus going on in the background. And I feel like you can either be a hero or you can be a villain based on how you respond to that. There was a scientist or an engineer or something who, he would have been the hero of the day if he had just picked up his daughter and introduced her to the people on the other end of the screen. Instead, he pushed her out of the camera angle and now is, made a mockery of. So, I mean, I like his approach to, the human element of the things that we're facing right now. Mm-hmm. I also like that he doesn't have a cookie cutter approach. Like when we have players coming back from injuries or we have players coming off protocol, like Ovi wanted something completely different than another player. And he did what was best for each individual player. And I think that's going to speak well to his leadership of our team.
Oh, you're talking about when he came back from coming off COVID. And I think they were probably like, we want you to take a day off. And he was like, I want to play. And
right.
He's like, all right.
And so they dialed back his minutes, but then
scored the overtime winner. Yeah.
Right. But then shortly, I think it was the next game, they double shifted him.
He played 27 minutes.
Right. And that's,
Yeah, that's just also the way Ovi is. But it's good on him to recognize that Ovi's that kind of guy that will take the minutes you give him. So, and he's not the kind of guy, he's not a guy that shy away from it. And I know we kind of mentioned this earlier, but there have been some interesting interview questions he's had to answer that like make you laugh, like the one we watched the other day. And usually Sergey, their PR person, will announce who the next person is. And we'll be like, Tom Galletti with blah, 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 blah. And Peter was just like, Tarek, you got a question?
Well, I don't know if it's an electronic raise hand feature or I can't imagine that it's like physically
I think it's
the
video.
Person's hand. But Tarek seems to have an issue with remembering to put his hand down.
That was the one. Yeah, he did have that one. He was like, I forgot to put my hand down. Sorry. Can you imagine how long he was just standing there like sitting there?
That's what I'm saying. It must be an electronic hand. No, he had his hand physically up. He didn't realize he had his hand physically up.
I think essentially it's like if we were doing this an interview right now, I think it's literally like a TV in front of him and he has all the people on it, and that's how like. Okay,
but I'm saying I'm almost certain that it has to be an electronic hand raise, like in Zoom. That's a function, and other things. Because I mean, not that Tarek is my favorite by far. I think I cringe and roll my eyes whenever I hear his name. Sorry, but I can't imagine that you're just like. And you don't realize that your hand is in the air? I can't imagine that being a thing. I mean,
I don't know. You've been on way more Zoom calls than I am. I didn't even know that it was really an electronic thing. So
yeah, you click a button that says raise hand, and frequently people forget that they clicked that button.
Oh, okay. Well, I just naturally assumed that he was sitting there just like waiting his turn, like again, and then like lost track of time.
That's giving him less credit than I give him, and that's bad.
I wasn't giving him less credit.
Okay.
I don't dislike Tarek. I just don't like some of the questions in general that I hear. It's just like it sounds weird, and some of them sound like you're just trying to get the coach fined or the players fined by questioning protocols and stuff.
Fun fact: does anybody know how the Bender Knows Best podcast got started?
No. How does it get started?
Wife made an offhanded comment about how husband could do just as well as, if not better than, some of the highly athletic, highly, in tune individuals that speak on behalf of the Capitals. And suddenly there's these fun electronic pieces and, cameras and soundboards and all of this absurd stuff showing up in my basement. And it's like, wait, that's the thing you decided to agree with me on? But anyway, so that's how.
Okay, so
snide remark is how this all started.
This is your fault then, so blame you. All right, so we'll finish this off with a funny thing that we heard the other day, and then we'll get out of here and wish you everybody a happy Valentine's Day and watch the Caps game on Sunday against the Penguins. Okay, just because I want a good laugh, you listened to the Q&A with Locker and Venonati the other day. With John
I loved every minute of that. That's the only sports thing you've subjected me to, maybe in our whole marriage, that I thoroughly enjoyed.
Outside of seeing JJ Watt shirtless, really?
I mean, you didn't subject me to that. I'd go find that by myself.
But, yes. So, I thought I think that like sometimes when I do this with friends, some of my previous ones, that it's like I die laughing sometimes. I think Elwyn's probably one of my favorite people that we've had on do this when I laugh. But listening to them, especially when like you hear, especially when they tell, I'm not going to tell the whole story, but like when Joe B was like said he got hit in the head. And he's like, I can't stretch. Dum-Dum's over here in the corner laughing at me, doubled over.
I love Joe B, and I would never classify him as a dum-dum at all. But that
he wasn't calling him dum-dum. He was saying Locker's a dum-dum, is what he was saying. He said dum-dum Locker is over here crying, laughing at me.
I thought it was Locker that got hit with the light.
No, it was Joe B. That's why he was saying.
That makes it less funny. That makes me sad.
Really? Because that's what he was saying. He was talking about him. Like this gigantic light hit small. I don't mean to be mean to Joe Beninati because he's like my height.
Yeah, you're the same size.
Yeah, small Joe Beninati gets smashed in the head with a thing. That's what he was saying.
That's why I just assumed it was Locker because it would have gotten to Locker first.
No, because Locker was the one, and that's why Locker was doubled over saying he couldn't do the interview because he was crying laughing. He said he wanted Joe B's hair to get on fire. He said the cut wasn't big enough and he would rather his hair caught on fire. It would have made it better, made it funnier.
I felt really bad, I love their comedy and I love their relationship, but I didn't realize that Locker loves that about, being a description of their, Well,
it's like Alan May when I would say when like before Rob Carlin got let go, and when the Caps Talk podcast was really good when it was just those two together, because those two were a really good team, and obviously Rob could show Alan some of the TV side of how you should act, and Alan, and anytime Rob would say anything essentially to try to like make fun of Alan literally, I think when they were off camera, Alan pretty sure would like punch him in the arm, like not as hard as he could, but like listen, I'll kill you if I have to. But it was like a big brother thing. I've always
kind of pictured those off-camera things as like a headlock with like a, the noogie kind of situation.
Oh, yeah. I mean, especially when you used to have a mullet like Alan Mays and used to punch people in the face. Yeah, do whatever you want. But I'm just glad. I want to say thank you for doing this. Thank you for dealing with me through COVID and all this situation, because I know I have not been easy, and it was good to get the juices flowing again to do this, and can't wait till maybe the next one in another month and a half or whatever, when the next 16 games, 18 games go by.
And unfortunately, you're likely to be stuck with me again for that.
Well, yeah, it's not like I can ship you off to somebody else, okay? And trust me, nobody else wants to deal with me.
And I don't have to worry about being stolen. They would return me.
Yes, but I don't know if you noticed, but if you have seen this really nice hoodie I have on.
It's soft. Sharesies.
Mm-hmm. It's from Other Side of Sports. I'll put the link in the description for Harold Laws. Great local business support.
Oh, that's not true. My statement earlier isn't true. I've enjoyed listening to some of Harold's things.
Oh, okay. I didn't know you listened to Harold. Look at that, Harold. Got another listener. It's not just me.
The post Washington football team cut rant was fantastic.
Oh, all right. Well, I just want to say thank you, everybody. Be safe. Wear your masks. Can't wait to see you guys again and get a chance to listen to us, hopefully, and in another month. If you like these, we'll keep doing more. Welcome. Thank you. It's Better Knows Best. We are out.